Well, everybody, welcome back to the Trig Podcast of Joy and Goza TV on this Friday, October. No, wait a minute. November 1st, 2019. Thanksgiving is almost here. Christmas, all the great things that come with winter and a little colder weather here. I know for us, it's like 65, 50, man. Forget it. We might as well be living in Alaska, but don't be a hater. Just we happen to live in paradise. Talking today about how to avoid negative thinking, especially, a lot of young people that I meet with. Let me actually turn something down here really quick. Okay, great. All that noise back there was getting on my nerves. But how to avoid negative thinking. I talk to a lot of young people, young adults that I coach, young men and women in their 20s and 30s. Some are single, some are in college, out of college, artistic types, creative, successful types, people of faith who, even though they have a lot going for themselves, they end up believing a lot of negative stuff. They're not successful enough. They're too old, even though they're maybe only 25, that they're not achieving their dreams. They should be married by now. All of these things that tend to really overwhelm young people these days. These are things that all of us deal with. I know that in my own life, I face negative thoughts and they just surprise you. They suddenly come and you're in the tank, right? So how to avoid these negative thoughts? I want to give you 5 tips. Number 1 is to go slow. The tendency when you have a big goal in front of you is to want to achieve all your goals right now, right away, this week, this month, maybe at the most to wait a year. Go slow. I have a list of the 5 things that my wife needs from me the most. And these are things that she and I have talked about many times. And when I look at my list, honestly, I sometimes feel like a failure. I think, man, I'm not doing anything for my beautiful wife. She does so much for me. Instead of focusing on all the things we're not doing, focus on slow progress. And so one of the things that she loves when I do is to go shopping, grocery shopping with her. And instead of me thinking, oh, it's been years since I've been grocery shopping with her, instead I can think, well, maybe I'll go this evening. Maybe this afternoon we'll do that. Maybe we'll spend the weekend or an hour on the weekend going to the store together. You might have similar negative thoughts about things that you're not doing right or perfectly. Take time to get there. Don't rush into it. Don't overwhelm yourself thinking of all the negative things, all the things you're not doing, all the times that you missed going to the gym and you instead stayed home, or all the times that you yelled at someone that you love, or all the times that you let people say bad things to you and you didn't speak up. Be calm. Like my mom always says, despacito, or like the song, I guess, says, despacito. Number 2 is focus on your wins. Actually, no, let me go back to number 1. I wrote something down. Here's a practical step. Instead of thinking, I got to do everything, think more about 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years. What's something that I can do in the next 2 weeks, in the next 2 months, in the next 2 years? Order your goals that way. Prioritize. So, for example, for me, another thing on the list for Rochelle and I is to pray together. And it's been maybe, I don't know, a week or 2 since we've prayed together in the mornings. We prayed together at night. Instead of thinking, okay, gosh, I need to do this every day, I'm horrible. Maybe over the next 2 days or the next 2 weeks, I can make a goal to praying together 3-4 times a week. So go slow. Or organize your life into 2s, 2 weeks, or maybe even 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. You can go 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever works for you. Organize your goals into 2s. Number 2 is focus on your wins, not on your losses. Focus on what you're doing right. That's another thing that that are maybe perfectionists or high achievers we struggle with, is we focus on just the negative. I mean, what is it about us humans, right? Focus instead on your wins, on what you are doing right. So maybe I'm not praying with my beautiful wife every morning at 6 a.m. like I used to, but I'm praying with her at night. I'm listening to her for 2 hours in the afternoons when she gets home. What are the things that you are doing right? Maybe you're not achieving that one fitness goal, but maybe you skipped. You had you had a salad instead of that In-N-Out burger. Focus on the things that you have done right in the last couple of days, in the last couple of weeks, kind of the whole thing of the twos. Focus on what you are doing right. One of the things I'm always beating myself up over is not being a great, perfect speaker. And yet when I sometimes send my podcast to other friends, they listen to it for the first time and they tell me, wow, you sound so amazing. Like your microphone is great, your whatever, you sound like a radio host. There are so many things that we tend to ignore about ourselves, especially the positive things. Focus on your wins. So here's a practical step. Make a list of the things that you are doing right in one area. You can choose, it could be your eating habits, it could be your online presence, it might be your work, or maybe in your relationships with your kids or with your friends or with a person that you love that you're dating. What are the things that you are doing right? And focus on those things. Number 3 is focus on the kind of person that you are, not on what you're doing. Another big problem for us doers, and especially young people, is that we focus on doing, and we forget that we are human beings, not human doers. My point is, focus on the kind of person that you are. So maybe on my list, I'm not hitting 100% on all these things that my beautiful wife needs from me, but I am someone who's kind to her. Focus on your kindness. I'm someone who is compassionate towards her. I'm someone who does pray with her when she's overwhelmed at work. Focus on your personality traits, on the integrity of your heart, the kindness of your heart. Maybe you're a compassionate person. So maybe you did eat that extra donut and you feel terrible. Oh no. Focus on the fact that you are a compassionate person, not that you are just a person who's not in shape. Think of the characteristics of your personality, of your integrity. Of course, everything matters, but try to avoid focusing on just the negative things and make a list of the positive traits about your life. So, for example, you are a very loving person. Write that down. Maybe you are a very compassionate person. Write that down. Did you respond to an angry friend or an angry conversation with kindness and with peace instead of with hate? Write that down. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a hug. Squeeze and say, thank you, Lord, for who you are making me to be. Number 4 is talk to encouraging people and avoid negative people. So this is maybe the last tip here. 4 and 5, talk to encouraging people and avoid negative people. So when you're focusing on all the things you're not and that negative thinking, that negative talk gets in there, it's very easy to, well, let me put it this way. Sometimes that comes from a source outside of us. Sometimes when I'm watching videos on YouTube, as much as I love entrepreneurial stuff or creative stuff or preaching or speaking or music stuff, I can tell when that video is making me suddenly feel inferior or like I'm failing at life, or maybe I'm listening to a podcast and that person who's on there is talking so big about all the great things in their lives, and it's not their fault, it's me, right? But that input suddenly turns negative. So turn that off. Avoid those negative videos or Instagram posts. How many friends do I have, especially young people again, excuse me, that tell me that when they're on Instagram and they're seeing all these perfect bodies and they're seeing all these successful lives, or these young people that are making millions or out on the beach, or maybe they live in their dream, what is it called? A house in the hills or in the mountains, or a cabin is what I meant to say. They feel inferior. They feel like they should be successful. They see Kylie Jenner being a billionaire and they're like, I got $10 on my bank account or $500. Avoid those things. Turn off that Instagram page. And I think most of all, focus on positive people. Search, look for, pursue positive people in real life, a coach, a mentor, a pastor, a neighbor, a friend, and online as well. And I think this idea of looking for positive people is very important. I don't think we talk about this enough because we're so used to just having the videos and podcasts and Instagram pictures talk to us. We forget to actually talk to ourselves. Meaning, I heard someone say it clearly. They said, practice the art of talking instead of listening, which seems backwards, right? But what she meant is sometimes we listen to all the negative stuff, right? And so we're listening to all of these negative ideas or this negative self-talk. Instead, she was saying, talk to yourself. So what does that mean? Well, it could mean, as I said earlier, I'm a very kind person. Okay, so I didn't eat that healthy salad, but I did help that elderly person with their groceries. Or I did pray this morning and I talked to God instead of just being on Instagram. Talk to yourself more than listen to yourself. Avoid those people, those relationships that are always making you feel inferior, like you're behind, and focus on people that uplift you. For example, I have a friend, obviously, I'm a pastor, I'm a musician, creative, all these things. And I have a friend who's a little older than me. I have two friends. Excuse me. I have two friends. One who is a leader of a great church, but every time I call him, he makes me feel inferior to him and to what he's doing, and he's just not very encouraging. And so guess what I did? I stopped calling him. I have another friend who is also a successful pastor, but every time I call him, he lifts me up. He makes me feel like I can do all things through Christ. Well, who are you going to call? Obviously, the person who encourages you. Avoid people, even though they may be nice and your boss or even your parents or your mentors or friends who bring you down. Avoid them if they make you feel terrible. And look for those people who will lift you up, who will lift your spirits, who will tell you that you can do it, who will also speak truth into your life and will guide you, of course. We need guidance, but who lift you up, especially when you're in that negative spin cycle. So these tips are the things that I practice all the time. Is it easy? Of course not. But I think what I am learning to do is to become aware of that negative spin cycle. When I'm focusing on all these negative things, like that list I was telling you about, and all I can think of is all the horrible things I'm doing and what a terrible man or husband or friend I am, that's the time to focus on these principles. To look for positive people, to avoid those negative things, to go slow, despacito, focus on your wins. Make sure that you focus on who you are, not just on what you're not doing. And I think that these tips will help you. I hope that they will encourage you. And my prayer for you today is that you would know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, especially as a young person, that you would realize that you are wonderfully made, that you're not failing at life, that you can accomplish all great things through Christ who strengthens you, that you are more than a conqueror because you have Holy Spirit power, divine power that comes from above. And if you do want my free coaching, I would love to offer that to you. You just go to the link at the bottom of this video, davidtrig.com/free coaching, davidtrig.com/free coaching. I would love to help you to talk about those negative things that maybe get in the way and how to avoid them so that you can be the young woman, the young man that you are meant to be. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Share this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell wherever you're watching me, and I will see you next time. Adios.